By 9:12 a.m., TechCore's grand ballroom hummed with polished laughter and clinking glasses, sunlight spilling through floor-to-ceiling windows onto rows of gleaming robotics displays. But in the far corner, an 11-year-old girl sat on the marble floor, her jeans torn at the knees, her fingers steady as she studied a broken robot no one else had bothered to fix. Zara Williams kept her head down. Staying invisible was safer in rooms built for people who pretended not to see her. Then the microphone cracked. "Someone get that dirty little girl away from my equipment," William Fitzgerald said, each word sharpened by amusement and power. Heads turned. Zara didn't flinch. She only tightened her grip on the robot's loose arm. Fitzgerald's smile widened. "Actually, come here. Let's have some fun. If you can open my vault, the one 57 MIT engineers failed to crack, I'll give you $100 million. Her mother whispered, "Zara, please, don't." Zara rose slowly, eyes fixed on the 8-foot titanium vault pulsing with cold blue light. Because something inside it wasn't behaving the way it should. And she could hear it. What she does next will rewrite the room, and the man who tried to shame her. If this beginning pulls you in, like the video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more unforgettable stories. The moment Zara stepped toward the vault, a hush spread across the ballroom as if the windows themselves were holding their breath. Reporters drifted closer without permission, sensing a moment far larger than aboard Billionaire's challenge. Even the engineers, some amused, some irritated, most dismissive, leaned in just enough to catch the first sign of failure. They were certain it would come quickly. Her mother wasn't certain of anything except fear. "Zara, please," Maria whispered again, her voice fraying at the edges. "You don't owe these people anything." Zara didn't look away from the vault. "I know." What she meant was something only she and her grandfather understood. Metal rarely lies. People often do. The vault towered over her like a monolith dragged from another age, its titanium face cold and matte, its blue interface pulsing lightly as if mocking the idea that an 11-year-old could make it do anything at all. Even from a few feet away, she could hear the faint hum. Steady, artificial, wrong. A hum that didn't match the weight of the machine it powered. Fitzgerald noticed her staring too intently. "You're not backing out, are you?" he taunted. "All you have to do is admit you were playing hero." Zara turned her head slightly. "Are you scared I might succeed?" The crowd reacted before he did. A ripple of shock and muffled laughter, the kind that appears when someone small steps out of the lane they were assigned. Fitzgerald's jaw twitched. Brad, the lead engineer, scoffed louder than necessary. "Kid, this is quantum encryption. Not a toy chest." Zara studied him for a beat. His irritation told her more than his words. He wasn't afraid she'd fail. He was afraid she'd see something he missed. She knelt, set her backpack down, and pulled out the one object that made the audience erupt into open ridicule. An old stethoscope, the tubing worn, the metal dulled with age. Someone in the back muttered, "This is child abuse." Someone else replied, "Nah, this is comedy." But the moment the stethoscope touched the vault's surface, Zara's breathing changed. Her shoulders softened. The noise of the ballroom thinned as she focused on a sound only she could hear. A faint vibration beneath the electronic hum, like a heartbeat trapped under layers of machinery. The first emotional dip in the room settled in then. Disappointment, impatience, a sense that the spectacle had already run its course. Executives wandered off for coffee. Parents shifted their children's attention elsewhere. Fitzgerald checked his watch twice in 1 minute. Only Priya, the youngest engineer on the team, watched without cynicism. She noticed how Zara didn't simply press the metal. She listened to it the way musicians listen to an instrument tuning itself. There was intention, curiosity, discipline. "Why is she listening to the lower panel?" Priya murmured. Brad rolled his eyes. "Because she's a kid and she's guessing." But Priya wasn't convinced. Zara didn't look like someone guessing. She looked like someone recognizing something familiar. Minutes slid by. Zara didn't move much, only adjusted the stethoscope every so often. Sweat gathered at her hairline. Her fingers held the metal with the tenderness of someone guarding a fragile truth. Maria stepped closer. Baby, you don't have to keep going. Nobody here deserves what you can do. Zara whispered. I'm not doing it for them. Her voice was steady. Too steady for an 11-year-old under this much scrutiny. Something in her had anchored itself deep, and it wasn't pride or stubbornness. It was inheritance. When she finally stood, the shift in her posture drew every remaining eye back to her. A steadier wave of energy filled the space, a rising point in the emotional curve. May I see the patent filing? She asked softly. Brad scoffed again. You can't read quantum schematics. Zara reached into her backpack. I already did. She opened her cracked phone and displayed the file she'd read days earlier. The moment she mentioned the K7 failsafe, the room changed entirely. The laughter thinned, replaced by a growing unease. Fitzgerald stepped closer, his mask cracking. That feature doesn't matter. It's obsolete. Zara met his eyes. Then why hide it? The question wasn't loud, but it hit the room like a dropped weight. Before Fitzgerald could form an answer, a voice at the entrance carried across the ballroom. Who authorized a child to attempt this? Dr. Helena Voss didn't walk so much as command the floor beneath her. Her silver hair caught the light, her stride calm but uncompromising. Every engineer in the room straightened instinctively. Even Fitzgerald faltered. When she reached Zara, she didn't kneel or speak down to her. May I watch? Zara nodded. Priya exhaled with relief. The dynamic shifted again. Support rising, tension thinning, anticipation building. With the frequency analyzer now guiding her, Zara approached the vault's core a second time. She pressed the quantum panel, waited for the flicker, pressed again. The panel glitched, brighter, weaker, then dark. Gasps rippled outward. What did you do? Brad barked. Zara didn't look up. I asked the system a question. It answered. She removed the bolts at the vault's base, revealing a brass dial no one expected. Not even Fitzgerald. The ballroom vibrated with a new kind of silence. Sharp, electric, disbelieving. Fitzgerald stepped forward, face draining. Put that back. Now. Dr. Voss blocked him. Let her work. Zara placed the stethoscope on the metal above the dial. The sound broadcast through the speakers without her realizing, amplifying the intimate clicks and shifting tumblers. The audience leaned in as if they were listening to her heartbeat. The emotional wave rose sharply as she fought through the progressive resistance, her small hands straining against the dial's increasing weight. Maria trembled, torn between pride and fear. You're hurting yourself, Maria whispered. Zara shook her head. No. It's talking. 5 minutes left. 3 tumblers down. The room now fully united in impossible suspense. When the final tumbler resisted her with everything it had, Zara closed her eyes. She pictured Isaiah's steady hands guiding hers, the way he taught her to shift her grip instead of forcing what didn't want to move. She adjusted her angle by barely an inch. Click. The vault opened with a cold, echoing clunk that rang across the room like a verdict. The scream of applause drowned everything else. Phones lifted. Reporters surged. Maria broke into tears. Priya covered her mouth in disbelief. Brad stumbled back speechless. And Fitzgerald, once towering above everyone, looked impossibly small. Dr. Voss approached the open vault first and froze. These files. William, what are these doing here? Documents, designs, patents, all bearing the signature of a man Fitzgerald had fired years ago, but reinvented under his own name. The wave of emotion shifted from triumph to shock, then fury. The SEC auditor stepped in. These appear to contradict your filings. Fitzgerald stammered. That's private. No, Dr. Voss's voice sliced through him. It's evidence. Reporters captured every frame of his unraveling. The whispers turned into sharp accusations. Betrayal. Habitat. Fraud. Fitzgerald lunged to close the box, but Zara's voice stopped him. You said no one would ever open it. For the first time he didn't have an answer. Within the hour, the board assembled. Within the next, Fitzgerald was suspended pending investigation. His lawyer tried to spin the narrative, but the cameras had captured too much. His arrogance, his insult, his promise, his collapse. By evening, the headline spread across every major outlet. 11-year-old girl exposes billion-dollar fraud after cracking unbreakable vault. The public didn't just cheer, they demanded justice. Investigations launched. Shareholders revolted. Engineers stepped forward with allegations of their own. The board forced Fitzgerald to resign in disgrace. His assets were frozen. His patents were seized. His reputation, carefully built, ruthlessly protected, crumbled in a single day. And all of it began with one challenge he never expected anyone to win. Zara and her mother walked out of the building quietly, hand in hand. Reporters begged for comments, but Zara only said, "I listened." A week later, Dr. Voss found her in a small Oakland workshop space that TechCore, now under new leadership, set aside in Isaiah's honor. Tools hung neatly on the walls. Students chatted excitedly at wooden tables. Zara stood at the front with a training safe. "You don't have to be big to be strong," she told the kids. "You just have to hear what others ignore." The emotional wave landed softly on a note of renewal, empowerment, and community, everything the villain never understood. But the story wasn't done yet. Because the world had one last question. What price should a man pay for the cruelty he thought would stay hidden? And that answer was coming for William Fitzgerald next. When the dust finally settled, Zara found herself back in the quiet of the workshop TechCore had rebuilt in her grandfather's name. The noise of reporters, board meetings, and collapsing egos felt far away now, replaced by the steady rhythm of tools tapping against metal. She stood beside a small safe, guiding a new group of students through its stubborn dial. Her hands no longer shook. Her voice no longer tried to stay small. For the first time, she understood why her grandfather had insisted she learn how machines speak. Not to unlock steel, but to unlock the courage to face rooms that were never meant for her. What happened in that ballroom changed more than a company. It reminded her that truth doesn't shout. Wait. And when someone brave enough listens, everything shifts. Maria watched from the doorway, pride softening every line on her face. Zara didn't see it. She was leaning toward a little girl struggling with the dial, whispering, "Slow down. It tells you more when you're patient." And the girl's smile, bright, certain, felt like the real victory. Outside, evening light spilled across the windows, glinting off the stethoscope preserved in its case. A reminder that even the smallest voice can break open the hardest walls. If this story moved you like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales to help the channel grow. More stories await. Stories where truth finds its way to the surface, no matter who tries to bury it.